So here we are, the opportunity to do some yoga again together today. My name is Trinity, and really happy to be here with you, and want to really encourage everyone to join in who possibly can, because this is just such a nice way to let our well-being be enhanced and our circulation be enhanced. The harmonic of all the different systems of our body, our immune system, our circulatory system, our cognitive, our digestion, our muscles, our skeletal, all of this, all these movement patterns help all these systems come into a better working with each other and help them all kind of up-level our whole physiology. So, and part of the intention too is to help us with any anxiety or stress, to let that settle down so that we can feel more peaceful and calm and hopefully creative with whatever our situation is. So we are going to start again today in a seated position, and then later we will come on the floor. If you don't want to come onto the floor, then you can just stay seated for that segment. And so again, we're going to work with this principle again of just arriving as we are into this moment. So we just want to use that sense of who are we today, what's actually happening in our personal space, in our body. So just take a moment to feel your posture wherever you're seated. Again, you don't want to be leaning back. If you're on a chair, it's better if you're not leaning back on the chair, but maybe scoot forward to the edge so your spine is holding itself up. And actually, sometimes that can be uncomfortable if we're very used to leaning back, but you can feel there's little muscles that are required as we're lifting that it's good. It's like our strength practice, just to sit upright. There's all these little muscles. Can you feel? It's like we actually have to turn our core on. And all these little muscles along the spine. So if you can always take breaks in any of this and just rest back into your comfortable, normal position, but then come back to it. Just again, challenging yourself to really sit with a good posture helps everything circulate better and helps those little muscles along the spine and in the core wake up. So come to that posture, and we're going to start the action by sliding our hands back to the top of the thighs. And when we do that, we're going to lift a little the front. So just lift up a little bit more your sternum. Notice what happens in your back. You don't want to force anything. And then you're going to do the opposite, where you're going to concave. You can let your hands come out. You're going to drop your tailbone and drop your chin. And feel if you can get a feeling when you drop back, your navel wants to press towards the spine, and you want to get a sense of kind of C curve where you're opening length along the spine, and then you're coming forward, sliding the hands and the elbows back. Just lift the chin a little bit so you get a sense of from the pubic bone to the sternum to the chin, just a gentle length. So you're rocking on the pelvis and rocking, open the back and then open the front. And go nice and easy. So you're not forcing it. Sometimes it feels good to do the movement in a larger way. Sometimes it feels good to do a very small frame. We call it like what frame? Like a small frame would be like, where's your center? And it's just this little movement. That would be a small frame. A big frame would be like, go into it quite a bit more. But however you do it, see if you cannot press through any resistance or pain that doesn't feel good when you meet it. So you want to create a quality of ease in the movement and steadiness in the movement. And it's just helping us arrive in what's here in our torso, what's here in our chest, in our hips. And then take a moment and just come to your neutral spine. And notice how that felt. Again, if there's any, sometimes it's very nice, just take a moment and wiggle your spine a little bit. Just notice where maybe the tension pattern is right now in your spine, and if you can just take a little movement to help that release. So the next movement is a gentle twist, where we take one hand, we slide it back to the top of the thigh. The other hand is going to come across to the knee. You stay really grounded in the pelvis. So you're not lifting the pelvic bone that you're moving away from. That stays grounded. But you're turning from the spine and from the belly. And you want to imagine that your spine is like a spiraling staircase. The tailbone is dropping down, and each little vertebra stacks and spirals to the side. And again, you don't force into the movement. Just go where the natural range of motion is, and that'll allow your breath to stay easeful. The crown of the head wants to lift a little, and the chin drops, and then you just let that release. You come back to center. And then we'll do the other side. The hand slides back, the hand comes across. The direction that you're turning, that sit bone that you're turning away from, stays really grounded, and the spiral starts at the base of the spine. So you want to feel your belly and your spine move, and then feel the mid-back. What happens in the mid-back? And then feel the chest. Again, we're not pushing or forcing in, we're just allowing. And then feel the upper back towards the neck. And the very last is the neck. Don't force it, just go as far as it wants to go. You can, if you want to, even add your gaze to that side. And then you come back to center. I'm going to do that a few more times. You want to, again, keep the shoulders relaxed, settle through the tailbone, feel the spiral start in the base of the spine and the abdominals, and then move gradually through the low back, the mid-back, the upper back. Let the shoulders relax, but let the crown lift so the chin drops, and the last action is the neck, maybe the gaze. Again, feel that gradual development of the spiral. The base, the lower, the middle, upper, chest, last, the head and neck. And we'll do that one more time. You can really feel your way through that movement, so you kind of feel in and then feel out, so you can adjust the movement for what you're noticing. Stay grounded at the base and allow that gentle lifting spiral. Coming back to center and rest. This next movement, we're going to bring our hands up and we're going to gather the elbows back. So be aware of the space in between your shoulder blades and get a little bit tall with your spine. So as tall as feels comfortable in this moment. Hug your elbows back so the shoulder blades hug towards each other. The chest lifts and the chin lifts. And then come to neutral. Let the hands, the hands can come straight out, or if it's better for your shoulders, they can go down. And we're doing that action we started with, where the belly moves back, the chest sinks, the chin and the tailbone drop, and you're opening the back. And then as the hands come up, you spiral the palms up, gather the elbows back, lift through the front. That's on our in-breath. On our out-breath, we're concaving the front, opening the back. You can breathe just naturally and follow a good pace for your body in the movement, or you can link it with your breath, your in-breath and your out-breath. Keep your shoulders relaxed at each part of the movement. And see if you can feel just this smoothing out of the action. Again, notice what frame feels best for your body, and for a moment, small up the movement. So what if you didn't go to the full range of motion? You just did like a 70%. Or whatever was your full range, you hang back a little bit from that and let the movement get a little smoother and a little bit more even and relaxed, and let it be infused with your noticing. Look for a way that it actually feels good in your system. Sometimes you can, if you go to one point and it feels really good, you could stay a little bit longer. Let things open and then let it continue. And when you're ready, go ahead and let that go. And just take a moment and notice where your natural or your neutral spine is, natural upright. If there's a little bit of movement that would feel helpful there, you could just wiggle your spine a little bit to make sure that you're letting tension release that's kind of pulling you off that center. I'm going to do one more here from seated, where again we're going to let our arms go down. We're going to wake up from the chest to the fingertips, gather the shoulder blades back. You can just stay with that, or you can bring your elbows up. You could actually reach really wide with your fingers, so you imagine you could get as absolutely wide as possible, really wide. Or you could bend the elbows. You could also reach the arms. You could do a little bit of all of that. Or whatever variation in there just adds a little bit of breath and a little bit mobility to the spine. And then we're going to do one forward fold. So your legs want to be comfortably placed, so you're really stable at the base. Your feet want to be opening. You could spread your toes. You want to have a nice alignment, ankle, knee to hip. And then you're just gradually letting the spine come forward. Go slowly so you can feel the increments of responsiveness in the tissues. And see if you can feel both an enlivenment where the muscles and tissues turn on, but they're also softening and becoming more receptive to stretching and opening. So your particular balance of engaged or relaxed. When you're ready, back up and see if when you come up you can feel the muscles at the front side of the spine helping the spine come back up. Notice the way that feels best for you to come up. And then again, just come into whatever posture feels like your best posture in this moment, where you're both grounded at the base, but there's a little gentle lift moving up through the sternum, through the crown of the head. Relaxed in the shoulders, you're letting the thighs release and the hips release. And notice if you can just take a cycle or two of breath through your nose, if that's available to you. Just let the breath come in and come all the way down into the lungs and into the belly. Just letting ourselves integrate what we've already done. We're going to come to standing, and so go ahead and come up. Again, we're going to do a movement where we're going to either need a chair. You don't have to move your chair if there's enough space behind it. You just come behind your chair, and we're going to do a nice few stretches from here. So go ahead and keep one of your feet right next to your chair. I'm going to keep my right foot to the chair and step my left leg back. My front knee is going to stay bent right over the ankle, and the back leg is going to reach into the heel. Your hips are going to square. So just take a moment to feel that. You can spread through your toes a little bit and see if you can get a nice connection through all four corners of the feet. So we're just getting a nice stretch. This is called our warrior pose. And then the leg that's back, we're going to let that arm either come down. See if we can wake up that arm, or again, we could have the elbow up, but the shoulder blade dropped, or we could reach all the way through the fingertips. See if we can get a nice line, fingertip to heel. Opening space in the body. You could have your shoulders more forward from your hips, or you could settle your hips and lift up through your spine so your shoulders lift a little bit. And then let your arm release. Come onto the chair, step forward. Notice the effect of that, and then come back. And with both feet, and take a moment to just get a nice open stretch, tail through the crown of the head. You want to get maybe a little feeling of lift through the chest and through the belly, so you're kind of spreading open the back of the body. Take your time there, and then when you're ready, step forward. Our left foot, or your opposite one you just did, close to the chair. Let the other leg release back. Reach through the heel. You want to spread the toes and feel like all four corners of the feet have a nice connection, but the arches are lifted. So be mindful not to collapse your arch if possible. which will keep your inner ankle a little wakeful, and the front knee that's coming over the ankle wants to be balanced. The inner knee and the outer knee wants to be right over the ankle. And you're just feeling that nice opening through the base of the pose. The hips are squaring, and we're going to take the leg that's back, that arm down to the side, spread through the fingers, and gather the shoulder blade back. So you're opening the front of the chest. If it feels good, you could lift the elbow. If it feels good, you could also reach through the arms. So you're getting a really nice pattern of length. Heel, through the spine, through the fingertip. Notice how you're breathing and see if you can find some ease and depth and smoothness in your breath. Or just allow your breath however it's needing, but make any adjustments so your breath feels even a little bit more better. And then if you want to, you can also lift your shoulders or keep your shoulders forward. And then bring your arm back down, release your arm, into the chair, step forward. Pause there for just a moment. Feel that side. Any changes? Both legs step back. You can roll the shoulder blades away from each other so the upper arm bones spiral out and the outer edge of the shoulder blade rolls into the armpit and the shoulder blade hugs back and down. And spread through the fingers so we're waking up a little bit of that hugging muscle to bone and opening through the joints. And then a little bit of lift through the lower ribs and the navel, and the tailbone settles so we go really long through the spine. When you're ready, step forward and release your hands from the chair. And again, just feel however that feels. You can just pause there, or if you want, again, you can reach through both arms. Bring your hands for a moment to your chest. Let the elbows lift a little so you get a little space in the armpit and width through the chest, or you can let your arms come out wide. You could even reach really long, or you could keep the elbows bent and you could go really tall. And then just let your arms find their way back down at your sides. So the next sequence that I'm going to do is going to be at the floor, on the floor. So if you want to come onto the floor, I have a little yoga mat here. You could, you don't need a mat, but you need maybe a little bit of cushion underneath you, not a hard floor, something that you'll be comfortable on. And I know some of the people who come all know that you might want to have a chair next to you, so when it's time to get back up, we should have that'd be a good video of like the yoga of getting up off the floor for the residents. That would be great. So I'm going to come on down and rest on the floor. You might want or need a blanket or a pillow for under your head. And the way that you'll know that is when you come down, if you're resting with your chin quite a bit higher than your forehead, then you're going to want to bring a blanket or a pillow under the head so that your forehead is just slightly higher than your chin. And that'll help open the back of the neck, and hopefully that'll just be really comfortable for you. And when we come down, we're just going to take a moment to arrive onto the floor. So we're going to keep our feet flat and our knees up, and we're just going to let our hands and arms rest wherever they're comfortable. And take a moment to notice your breath. Take a nice, easy breath or two. And then when you're ready, you're just going to let one arm lift up. And you might go just this action where you go towards the ceiling, you lift up, and then you let your shoulder come back down and rest in towards the floor. You could do that a few times just to feel that action in the shoulder. And if that feels like a good variation, you can always just go right above the shoulder. If it feels good, you could reach up above you and take a moment to go long from the hip to the fingertip. And then when we lift the arm, we want to come back up and down to the side, and we want to let the head just turn in the other direction. And then when your head comes to center, you're going to let the other arm lift. Go Reach for a moment right above your shoulder towards the ceiling, and then let the shoulder drop back into the floor. So you're just waking up that action. Shoulder blade will move a little bit and then come down, and you could just stay right above the shoulder, or again, if it feels good, come to the floor and reach from the hip to the fingertips, a nice pattern of length, and when you're ready to come up, the arm comes up and down at your side, and the head turns. We're going to do that again. Let the in-breath bring the arm up, either right above the shoulder or to the floor, and let your exhale turn the head as the arm comes down. So inhale, bring the arm up. Exhale, let the arm come down as the head turns. Do that again. Inhale. As the arm comes up, the head comes to center. And as the arm comes down, the head turns to the other side, opening a nice stretch, ear to shoulder to fingers. Inhale, arm up, head comes to center. And exhale, arm down, head turns. Make sure you make any adjustments so this feels good. We're going to do a few more. When we lift the arm, we're going to take the opposite leg and reach. So one arm, one leg, and as the arm and the leg come down, you could just keep the head where it is, or you could continue to turn. If you turn, the head stays relaxed on the floor, so you're not lifting the head. Again, the inhale, the opposite arm, opposite leg reach. You could go towards the ceiling or towards the floor, and then you bring the arm and foot back, and if you like, turn the head. So we'll do that one more time. Again, this is something you could do as many times as you want on your own. Really good to coordinate the left and the right sides of the body together. And then this time, as your arms come down, you're going to take both arms up together. So that's going to be your in-breath, and both arms back down on your exhale. Do that one more time. You can come right above your shoulders or towards the floor. And then let your arms come back down. And you can either just pause there for a moment, or when you're ready, gather your knees into your chest. And just take a moment to let your back release. You can just hold the knees in stillness, or you can let them rock a little bit from one side to the other. Good. So the next movement, when you're ready for it, we're going to have our hands right on our kneecaps. We're going to pull the knees into the fingertips, let the shoulders relax, and then we're going to slowly draw the knees towards us. And again, it totally depends on your body what the range of motion. It could be really small. You're inhaling, pulling the knees out, and exhale, pull the knees in. Feel the in-breath lengthening down into the lower lungs, through the diaphragm, into the belly. Feel the shoulders relax. As you exhale, feel the belly pressing back towards the spine to empty the old air out. See if you can relax your eyes and your jaw and find a nice smooth quality in the movement and the breath, and just notice how that feels. Make any adjustments so it feels good in your body. Sometimes you can tug a little bit more, and you might even let that lift your chin. You can tug a little bit more when you come in, and it kind of lifts your hips, extends through your back. Okay, and then the next movement, we're going to keep our hands right on our knees, but we're going to pull one knee in, and the other knee is pulling out into the fingertips. And again, we're just gradually letting the weight of our head turn away from the straight arm. And again, that's opening a little gentle length from the ear to the shoulder and to the fingertips. So just take a moment and feel that stretch open. It's just gentle. Your hips want to stay squared. Your shoulders want to stay like steadied and back. And then you're going to switch sides. So the opposite knee pulls in, opposite knee pulls into the fingertips of the straight arm, and the head gradually rolls in the opposite direction. Feel your breath, and just take a few times to move from one side to the other. Again, you want to have a continuity of your attention along the pathway of the movement. So you're getting curious about the transition from one part of the movement to the next.
do that as many times as you like, and then when you're ready, you take the knees and you do some little circles. You can circle your knees away from each other and towards each other, or if there's some other way that circling would feel good, a few times in both directions. And then you're going to let your feet come onto the floor, and your hands slide down to the top of the thighs, and you're just going to give a little gentle pressure with your hands to the thigh bones away from your chest and the crown of your head, which stay kind of lengthening. Just a breath or two for that. Give a little gentle traction into the lower back and to the hips. If that's comfortable, that's a really nice movement. And then we're going to have our feet wider than hip width, a little bit wider than the mat. We're going to bring our arms out. Usually the palms want to face up. If this feels great on your shoulders, then you want them about shoulder height and really wide, like full wingspan. If you need to, they can be lower down if that helps your shoulder release. And then you're going to let one of your knees fall to the opposite inner ankle, and your head turn the other direction the knee just fell. So just take a moment to feel that spiral from the outer thigh to the outside of the rib cage, the neck, and the spine, whole spine moves, and then the knee comes up. And the other knee falls in, the head moves in the opposite direction. This is a really nice gentle twist. Notice how your breath responds to the movement. And we're going to do that a few times. If it feels good, you could also let both knees fall together, or you could continue to just let the one knee fall in towards the opposite inner ankle. And notice the movement is really working through many parts of the body. So just keep getting curious of how it could feel absolutely best in your body from one part to the next. Just another cycle or two, really staying curious. What's moving? What's lengthening? What's engaging? New little muscles or bones are you aware of that you're not usually aware of? And how can you allow it to feel absolutely fantastic? How can you allow your breath to open into the movement? When you're ready, again, you're going to bring your feet in, just hip width apart. You're going to let your arms come and rest with your hands on your belly. You're going to take a moment, let your eyes close and soften. Let your jaw release and your shoulders release, and your upper arm bones, lower arms, and just feel down through the back of the body and through the pelvis and legs. Just feel a sense of letting the weight of your body settle and letting the natural length of your breath open. You want to invite the breath to come more into the space right underneath our palms. And you can just stay with the breath, or you can add a little gentle movement in the pelvis where the in-breath rocks you to your tailbone, and the exhale gathers the belly towards the spine and presses the low back into the floor. So you flatten out the back on the exhale. Let more curve come into the spine on the in-breath. This is a really fantastic, simple movement to help open the spine. And you can do it in a very small, almost unperceivable way, or you can do it much more exaggerated. So just notice. Also feel how that wakes up your legs. So maybe when you rock to your tailbone, you can spread your toes, wake up your feet, and then when you're gathering the back to the floor on the exhale, you can kind of press with the four corners of your feet into the floor. See if you can wake up your inner leg lines, your outer leg lines. Little gentle movement all the way up through the spine. I'm going to just show you one variation that you could do on your own. So the exhale when the belly comes back, your arm's going to be at your side. When you inhale, the same movement we did before, you could do this with the pelvic tilt. Towards the tailbone as the arms come up, and towards the low back on the exhale as the arms come down. So do that one more time. You could do this on your own if you like this movement. Inhale, arms up. They can come all the way to the floor or right up through your shoulders. Exhale, arms come down, belly back. So the next action, and you can pause in between if you need, we're going to do a little bridge pose. So we're going to press into the feet, lift the pelvis into the air, and you can come up just a little bit, or you can come up as high as you like. You can stay for a little bit, or you can just settle yourself back down. So just like that. See if you can really spread through the soles of the feet. And when you lift the pelvis, don't let the knees open up. Try to keep the knees and the ankles and the hips in a good alignment and the feet really open, and that'll get the inner thighs waking up and the outer thighs working. So we want the whole thing working all the way through. And I just lift and come down at your own pace a few times. Another variation is when you lift your hips, you could also lift your arms, and then when you bring your hips down, you can bring your arms down. And then when you finish that, just take a moment to rest. You can rest with your knees up. You could let your feet come a little wide and your knees rest into each other, or you could even let your feet come together with your knees wide, if that feels like a good variation. And just, again, for a moment, relax the eyes and the jaw, relax your awareness, and just pour it down through the body and through the quality of your breath, just that nice calming imprint of the breath through the system. And again, you can always stay there for as long as you like. So we're going to complete our practice today. And oftentimes it's nice to spend some time just letting your system totally relax. You can just stay like this kind of a posture. You could let your legs come down, your arms release out. You could bring, I'll do this just for a moment so you can see it. We often do this in class where we take a chair here, which could also be a couch, and we bring the legs up on the chair, and we take maybe 5 minutes or something like that. You could stay longer if you want. This is really nice for the lymph because your legs are elevated. It'll help if you have any swelling in your lower body and your ankles and your legs. It'll help everything release, and you just relax for a little bit. Again, I really recommend that you take a few moments to do that. And then when you are ready, just come up really mindfully. You can often roll to your side. You can take a little bit more time to release through your back. And then I'm going to do just a quick little, I know for those people who have a hard time coming up, to have a chair here where you can really get your legs underneath you and use the chair to press you up if you're having a harder time coming up. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you do take a little bit of time, even though we're ending early, to integrate. We call it Shavasana, where you just rest in non-doing for a few minutes. So all the benefits of the practice just get to really absorb into your system. I hope you have a beautiful